Well, hello and welcome back to another speaker spotlight in our series happening today. I've got Makena Delaney with me, and you guys, this is a fun girl. In fact, not only is she going to be with us in Nashville for the conference, she lives in Nashville. So, McKenna, let's start off with a little bit of like being a Nashville girl. Like, how country do you have to be there? I've been asking this question at the beginning, like scale of 1 to 10, what's your country vibe? Like, does everybody around there have a high one, or like kind of what does it look like in the area, and what's yours?
So if you show up to Nashville looking country, we know that you are a tourist. There's, in the outlying areas, it's pretty country, but in the general like greater Nashville area, not too much. I'm actually natively a Californian, so I've had to embrace my countryside and my southern hospitality and my southern belle vibes, but I have loved every minute of it. I love living here and I love all the people, so it's super
That's
amazing.
fun. Okay, you guys, take some tips. Don't show up looking like a tourist. We may
If
be
you have cowboy
asking,
boots and a hat, that'll
right?
give it away.
Yeah. We want to fit in, but not be like stick out like a sore thumb. And I mean, you are like, it's so funny just in the time that I've known you. I mean, I would say you have that Southern charm. You have that hospitality because you're just that kind of person that draws people in and makes them feel welcome. So I'm
Thank you.
excited that you are going to be one of our speakers at the conference. But before we get into that, like, I just want people to get to know you a little bit. So tell us a little bit about what you're juggling in just this season of life right now.
Ooh, what a lovely question. Right now, this is like a breaking news first announcement. I am working on a template shop for branded website design, which is the service that I offer, and that has been quite the interesting undertaking. It's taken nearly almost a year now, but we're like on the tail end of it. I would say in the next 30 days should be close to launching. So that's been really fun juggling that alongside client work. And personally, I don't think that there's anything crazy I'm juggling at the moment. Just, I have a zillion friends, which we'll talk about why here in a bit. But so that's always super fun. And I feel like the springtime is always just when people kind of come out of the woodworks a little bit more. So that's always a positive.
I love it. I love it. And yes, there is a reason why we're going to be talking about all of the zillion friends that you have and why I've specifically asked you to speak on a certain topic. But before we get into that, because there is a bridge between what you do and what you were just sharing that you're working on and what you're speaking on the conference. But I kind of want to go to like the what you do in your business, right? Tell us a little bit about the work that you do. And I'd love to hear, just a little bit of the journey of like how God has brought you to what you're doing today to serve women in business. So yeah, just kind of give us a little bit of who you are, what you do in that way, and a little bit of kind of how you've gotten to where you are.
Love it. So, my typical spiel is I'm Makena Delaney, a brand and website designer for female service providers, and I help you ditch your website shame. So that's kind of what I
Ooh,
always love saying. And yeah, that's kind of what I do, brand and website design, but it's so much more than that. So many designers are kind of just design things, but I really help you figure out how to move your business needle forward. Ultimately, anything that we do and anything that we hire out in business, if it's not moving the needle forward, we don't need to waste our time on it, right? So
girl,
I'm kind of always
yes.
the I'm kind of always the first one to say, like, I don't think you need a website right now, or that's not going to solve your problem. But
Yeah.
interestingly enough, brand and website design almost always solves the problem of confidence. So it does,
Mm.
even if somebody doesn't necessarily need it, it does move the needle forward. But anywho, that is what I do. Yeah, I think I forgot the second half of your question,
Yeah,
but
well, just a little bit
more
of maybe a couple of little milestones or things like,
oh,
how has
right,
God
right, right.
uniquely maybe prepared you or equipped you to
Yes.
be able to do this and give you this passion for it.
Perfect. Thank you. So I started out in college. My family owned a business and they needed a website, and I was an IT minor. So my dad was like,
You're
you
hired.
could probably figure it out. And I was like, okay, let's see what we can do. And I built a website and I kind of fell in love with it. So that was kind of like one thing that was happening at the time. The second piece of it that was happening is I was a super planner girl. I like if you can think of all the like stickers that you would buy on Etsy or go into Joann's, that was me. I was completely and totally obsessed with all things planners. So at one point, my dad had gotten me a silhouette machine, which is like off brand of a Cricut. I think that was like the more popular one at the time. That was what everyone was using online. And I started making my own designs and printing those as stickers. So that was kind of like one track. That's a little bit of the design side, and then like the IT side. And then the third piece of it was that um, I was in school for business coaching and consulting as well. So my college actually had a track for a master certification in business performance coaching and consulting, which I did. And so it was kind of like the convergence of all three of those things at the same time that really led me into a situation of just loving helping people bring their vision to life for their business.
Oh,
And funny enough, in high school and in college, really, I was a pretty shy human being. I used to see how many days in a row I could go without talking to people, as crazy as that sounds. And I bring that up just to say that one of the reasons why I chose brand and website design, or at the time it was just website design, is because I was really excited about the opportunity to bring other people's brand and vision to life rather than having to be the face of it myself. The joke
oh.
is on me. If there's anybody out there listening, LOL, that's the biggest lie I was ever sold, but thank goodness I was sold it.
Yeah, and you guys have to go check out her Instagram because she is so stinking cute.
Oh.
In what, and being the face of a brand. Because when you work with somebody, we're in a day and age where it's like either we go with a tried and true name that we know, household name, or we go with someone that there's some connection with, right? And so I think as business owners, we do have to create that connection. And a lot of times
Mhm.
that first connection is going to be through a website. People are going to go check out who you are and what you do. And I love ditch the website shame because how many of us have like that janky, I kind of threw this together with a template when I was just getting started and didn't know what I was doing website. And we're kind of maybe ashamed to share it with people because we're like, it doesn't really reflect how we've grown and really who we are and what we do. So tell us a little bit before we kind of transition into this next topic, but tell us a little bit about how when you work with somebody on their branding, on their website design, how it not just keeps them, hiding in the shadows, but it actually like saves them time is what you told me. So like I want to hear more about that because my radar goes up when I hear what something can save me time as a business owner. Like tell me more.
Well, first and foremost, it saves you time in terms of your marketing. If you're ashamed of your brand, if you're ashamed of your website, or if you should be ashamed of your brand and website, because
Right?
those exist too, it's really hurting you in the amount of time that you're spending on Canva trying to select a font. I've been in those shoes when I started my business, like I mentioned a minute ago, it was just website design. I didn't formulate a brand for myself until several years in, and I was super blessed that my business like took off like a rocket, and I just didn't have time to deal with it. And it definitely was damaging. People didn't recognize my business name at the time. They do now, obviously, but at the time they did not. So that's another thing it saves you time in is brand recognition. Like we
Yeah.
work so hard to build up brand recognition only to brush it away when we rebrand 5 years down the line. Like
Mm.
that it's still a possible thing to do, and sometimes it's a necessary evil, but you're starting over your brand's reputation from scratch when that has to happen, and that's a tough spot to be in. But yeah, there's a million ways it can save you time. Social media, if you're making a flyer, you're not starting from scratch. Like one
Mhm.
of the toughest things that is actually a huge time saver is I have so spoiler alert, we're about to talk about networking a little bit. I have a lot of friends that I have through networking that maybe aren't quite ready to invest in a brand, but they'll come to me and say, "Oh, I need someone to design this flyer, like I would love for you to do it." Well, if you're a past client of mine and I've designed your brand, or at least you have a brand in place, a lot of times I can knock that out in 2 3 hours, right, and make it
Yeah.
really perfect. If you don't have a brand, I essentially have to create a brand, then design it. Then you have to give me revisions. Then you tell me this is wrong or that is wrong because you don't have any defined situation to be able to know what the boundaries are that you're marketing within. And so it's astonishing that how that a post or a flyer can turn into a 6 7 hour project just because you don't have a brand. And I can't
Mm.
even imagine if you're not a designer how that must feel. I mean, it's something that prevents you. Not only does it not save you time, but it prevents you from being able to put your marketing out in the world. It's just a giant stumbling block.
Yeah. Wow. 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 I mean, I never really thought about how having all that stuff in place would make all these other things simple and save you time. And you're so right. So I'd love before we kind of transition and talk about this next little piece of our conversation, at what point, right? Like when somebody's just starting, should they be, like doing this, like creating a brand and getting a website going and stuff like that kind of, or is there a little bit of the like, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what that is before I invest the time and money and having someone design it like you?
So I think there's like a few different camps here. One, if you can make the investment, I say make it. And obviously it's my
Of
industry,
course.
but I do think that there's a lot of clarity that a seasoned business owner can bring to the table. I know that at least I try to do that for my clients, where I know what systems person you need. I know that you're going to need an email freebie in a few months. Like I can kind of preemptively help you jump over those hurdles before you ever even have to stumble upon them yourself.
Mm,
So that's one thing. And then I so that like if you can make the jump, do it. Now, the other question I tend to ask people in a sales call or otherwise is this intended to be a brand that you can scale, or are you just trying to bring in a few extra $1,000 a month? Right?
mm,
Are you trying to build something that's sustainable, that is, something you can grow, something you can sell? Those are all like good hallmarks for me. If it's somebody who's just trying to bring in extra 2 or 3 grand a month, it's probably not worth the investment, and you can probably generate that business in ways that don't require too much online marketing. So those are kind of my two main litmus
mm,
tests. I do think that there's definitely a season where I like to call it our many hats season, where we're trying on all kinds of different things to see what we enjoy doing. I know I went through that for a long time. And that's okay. That's an okay place to be. But at the same time, like it definitely can create confusion. Like I know for me, and this is funny in hindsight, but a lot of the ladies in my networking groups would always tell people, "Oh, she does my digital marketing," and I was like, I make things pretty. I don't like don't call me responsible for your marketing." Um,
right.
but that's because there was a lack of clarity around my own brand and what I was offering, because I was really offering them that marketing strategy without even really realizing it. And so once I was able to embrace that, your prices can go up, your value overall, what you're offering your clients and what you bring to the table can really rise. And when you can operate within that power in yourself and know, like, hey, like I've been gifted this, I might as well share it with the world, right? So
Exactly. And I love how you said like it really brings confidence and clarity, and I think as CEOs, we need that because so often we are trying to figure it out, or we're trying different things, or sometimes we're trying to be like other people. We see somebody that we think is doing it great. And so we're just kind of copycatting. And that's not showing up, really who we are. And then we just kind of become plain vanilla. And so I think we need
mhm.
something that really reflects who we are, what we do, and a little bit more about, kind of like our personality and what we bring to it that's really going to engage people. So I want to ask you this key question because this is going to tie in why you network so much, why you have so many great connections, and why I asked you to speak in that area at the It's Time conference. So, as online business owners, I mean, most of us have some kind of online presence, and that is, I mean, for me, I live in a small town, so like 95% of my, connections and stuff like that are online just because this is the nature of what we do, right? And I love that. And yet, there's something about like when you get in the room with people. So, like how do we make sure that our brand online matches our brand when we're walking up to somebody at a networking event or an in-person conference like the It's Time conference and we're shaking hands for that first time and like how do we make that kind of connection maybe even before we get an in-person opportunity so that when they see us, they're like, I already feel like I know McKenna, or like Lissa's like, like I already know things about, who she is and what she's about and things like that. So yeah, can I maybe help us bridge this from like who we are showing up online and then how we're showing up authentically in real life?
Yes, okay, I love this question so much. So when we show up in person, you don't always have to be as on as the next time, right? There are times where I feel a little bit more shy and times where I'm a little bit more outgoing. The number one thing I try to do is match the energy of the event, right? So if it's somewhere I need to be super energized, I'll do that. That's kind of like criteria one. But then of course I want to show up as who I am. I've created that persona within my brand. Now I kind of mentioned earlier that I used to be extremely shy. And so I really did have to kind of craft a persona and figure out who I wanted to be, for other people to like me, right? Like,
Mm,
not that I faked it, but I had to make an active decision to be an interesting person.
mm.
Um, and turns out like we all are interesting people, right? But that was
Right.
just not the way I felt about myself at the time. And it took coaches telling me like, you have funny stories, or I love the way you, I don't know. A lot of people love my stories. I tell a lot of funny stories, apparently. But you want to show up visually aligned as well. So, like right now, I'm wearing a pink shirt. This is my brand colors. There are flowers in the background because that's also my brand. They don't quite match my brand, but Rifle Paper Co. I couldn't get them on board. So,
Ah,
you got to do what you got
that'll
to
work.
do. But in person, yeah, I'm always typically in my brand colors. That's a good way to do it. The other thing that's a little fun pro tip is um, I have a branded name tag. So when they hand out those, paper name tags that get stuck in my long hair, I don't need that. I have one that has my little logo on it. It's got a couple of my little flowers and my name in my own brand font with my own colors. And it's gorgeous, right? Just like the bankers do that. If you're attending an in-person networking event, surely you've met a banker and they all have those too. Or the Mary Kay ladies, like, why not us? Why not the rest of us, right?
Yes. I love
And it
it.
helps, yeah, it helps people visualize your name, which is really good as well. But yeah, I love just making sure that the energy is a match. I
Mm.
think where people can often find a disconnect, and this is where people's inauthenticity meters go off. Meter, is that the right word? Yeah, I think so. Uh, is when you are like this loud and boisterous person online, or you've put out this different personality and then you show up and you're kind of meek in person. That
Mm.
can always be a little bit tough because people just don't put two and two together. Like, we have to create that connection between our online persona and ourselves, and usually clothing is a good way to do it. But just making sure that you're on, you when
Yeah.
you are at a networking event, like, that's what you are on, and you should be acting this though you're on.
Yeah, yeah. And what I just love, and it's so ironic, and it's so interesting how God does this. Like he took you from counting the days of how many days in a row could I not talk to people to being someone that tell me again what you said people call you like the mayor of some of your like connection or networking groups, like right? Like the mayor is out front. The mayor is somebody who's
Yeah.
bringing people together and all of that. So that's why I said, hey, McKenna, I want you to come talk to us about CEO Connecting. So you're going to be a part of day two, where it's time to invest in growing our business. And you're going to be talking about why, that connecting is so important and why we shouldn't be just hiding behind our screens, right? And portraying that person, especially if it's not actually who we are in real life. So tell us maybe a little bit first, before we get into some specifics about it, but like, why is this a passion of yours? Like, why are you excited now to be talking to people about getting out there and making connections and collaborating and things like that?
So many reasons. Well, again, it all begins with the shy aspect. So I remember the very first networking group I ever joined was Polka Dot Powerhouse. Shout out.
Yeah.
Uh, I loved Polka Dot Powerhouse, still do. I don't know why I said loved, but I love polka dots. And I would attend the events, and there were usually like 40 or 50 women at some of our early events. We had been a chapter for about 5 years, and I'll get into the rest of that story in a minute. But um, I would attend the events. I was right out of college, like maybe a month or two, and I was so nervous I would just stare at my phone the whole time. So scared, so scared. This was 2019, guys. Like, you can make progress in 5 years. But I couldn't talk to anyone. If somebody was gracious enough to come speak to me, I could barely hold the conversation. Like, it was just rough. And I'd had an outgoing job before that, but I just the I didn't get the purpose of networking at that point, so I didn't
Mm.
understand to put the sales personality on. Like, that was like I said, I had a sales job. I was good at networking before I knew what it was, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I just I that group of women really surrounded me, and it, like, through the pandemic, like, our membership dropped significantly, and that really brought a lot of us very close together, because we never actually stopped meeting in person. I think the way our dates felt, we were just like, well, forget that. And so they just really surrounded me and lifted me up and taught me what I needed to know. I remember the first woman who took me to a different networking event, and I watched her kind of work the room and invite other people to other things. And I was like, okay, I get it. And I remember that day. I remember it so
Mm.
clearly, being like, I get this. And I approached every networking event after that differently. And that has just been so monumental for my business, and it's done so much for me personality wise, personally. I mean, I'm 32. On my 30th birthday, I had 40 women at my birthday party. I really didn't have that growing up. I mean, I didn't have the friends to attend, right? So like that meant the world to me. I felt like I was like 16 again. I mean, for my 16th birthday, I think we went to Chicago because I pretty much knew I wasn't going to fill out a birthday party. So it's like there's so much magic to it other than just like, hey, it grew my business. The other cool part of that birthday party was almost every woman at that table had hired me to do her website as well. So it's like this
Mm.
dual relationship. But
Yeah.
that's really why I'm passionate about it, because it allowed other women to take the time to build me up, and that's why I want to give back. That's where my passion comes from, because I know that there are other girls out there that need the same help.
Yeah. Okay. I love this because no matter what season of life we're in, what season of business we're in, like there is power, like you said, in having the right kind of purpose in our networking and things like that. So we've entitled your talk, It's Time to Meet Your Next Client, Connector, or Collaborator. So without giving away all the good stuff, because that's why they need to buy their ticket to come to Nashville, like how are you going to help us think differently and do differently, when we are showing up in a room or even maybe when we're virtually, connecting with people, as well?
Yeah, I definitely want to take everybody out of their comfort zone, so I'm not going to say anything more than that, but that's where everything starts, is like everything is right outside of our comfort zone. And that was the phrase that I had to keep telling myself. And what I was able to do is actually create little comfort zones for myself. So like pro tip, I probably won't talk about this at the conference, so it'll be a little treat for now. But one of the biggest ways that I was successful with networking is I would commit to one of my friends that I would go to an event, and I knew I wasn't going to flake out on her. So why would I flake out on
Mm,
myself? Right.
yes.
That was a lesson that I was taught over and over. But the other part of it is now you have multiple people at an event, two, maybe three, who know each other, and all the other awkwardness is melted away because the other people have to be awkward. If you created a fun little party, you don't have to be part of the awkward. You're just having a good time with your friends, and you can welcome a new friend in. I
Yeah.
did that today. I was actually at a women's luncheon. There were over 200 people in the room. I immediately went for the first person that I knew, talked to her, caught up with her, and she introduced me to another person who introduced me to another person who introduced me to another person, handing out business cards left and right, trying to have coffees with people. So if you can create like a natural buzz around yourself, make
Mm.
yourself look welcoming. That
Mm.
is that is kind of my little big tip there.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. And, again, you guys, I hope you hear that McKenna is doing what she's going to be talking to us about. Like this is like in real time, right? Exactly what
Mhm.
she's doing. And it is authentic and it is, a way that she's really not only showing up in this new way, and connecting with people, but it's building her business because people are attracted to people that are connectors and are there to serve and all of that. So I can't wait to experience all of this when we join you in Nashville. So tell me, like, again, here's the thing about like networking. It takes time, right? Like, especially
Yes.
if you have to go, if you're going to an in-person event, it takes time to like get dressed and like get in the car, get yourself there, go to the bathroom, check your, your hair, whatever. Like, so like it is an investment of time. And even if you're just showing up for, an hour long one on Zoom or Alignable or something like that, like there's time there too. So how does like approaching, networking in a really purposeful way, like have an effect on our time, but also on our return on time invested? What would you say to that?
Ooh, what a lovely question. So I'm gonna back up to 2021. This is 2021. I would say March of 2021 is when I figured out that networking was what brought me business.
Mm.
I looked at all the clients that I enjoyed working with that I had had up until that point, so about a year and a half worth of data, and everyone that I liked came from pretty much networking. Not no one had found me on Google, Facebook group, anything else at that point that I enjoyed. So I made the time investment of going to 18 networking events that month.
18 in a month? Okay. In person, online, or a little bit of both?
A little bit of both at that time because it was COVID, so that made it a little easier. But I've kept up that cadence ever since. So,
And
shock
that
of the
was in
world.
2021, you said?
Yeah, I've been doing that since 2021.
Oh my word. Okay.
I can't.
So
I can't. Yeah, I can't say follow in my footsteps, but there's definitely something there. I obviously enjoy it. But that does mean that there was a big struggle for time
Mm,
to figure out like when am I going to actually build the website when someone hires me. And ultimately that came down to like some of us work better under pressure.
mm,
Um and also, got to a point where delegation is key. But my main tip around that is actually something I learned on another podcast. So I can't take credit for it, but I don't remember which one it is. But it's like internal time versus external. So I
mm,
plan out all of my networking events for the month. And then any days that don't have anything going on are the days that I mark as internal days. So I know exactly when I can schedule out work. I can always work between those things, but that helps me really get the return on my time because I'm not wasting every single day. It's really
mm.
hard, especially as someone who's not naturally extroverted, to come down from the adrenaline high that you kind of have to like put, like I said, put that personality on. I mean, even today, like for everyone listening, I had to work myself up to walking into this event. I knew there were going to be hundreds of ladies there. I knew that, well, at the time I was like, I don't know if I'm going to know anyone. That's a joke. I'm in Nashville. I know someone in
You know
every
everybody
building.
now. You're the
But I
mayor.
still, yeah, I still think that, like we always like psych ourselves out. And as
Yeah.
soon as I got out of my car, I saw two people that I knew, and I was like, okay, I'll be fine. Um, but yeah, that's you have to like you when you kind of put yourself on this high, you've got to be able to come down from it, and it's really hard to do that deeper work when you are doing that. So, like if
Yeah.
somebody's a coach, I think it might be a little bit easier. You could call it like an admin day versus like a outward facing day. I think that
Yeah.
would be, I mean,
Hmm.
kind of the same terms, but
Yeah.
I don't know. That's something that's helped me over time. And it also makes me pick one day a week at the very least where I'm not going to be going anywhere. I'm not going to be
Yes.
going to my co-working space. I'm not going to be going to any events. It's just to be able to like manage my time well.
Yeah. I love this. I wrote down time to work and time to network.
Yep.
Like that's such a great thing. And really kind of being able to segment your time in that way can be just such a great use of time, like you said. So that way it's, yeah, you know what it's time for that day. And you're not trying to
Hmm.
force something and then have it take more time, than you really wanted to because you weren't in the right headspace. So this is really fun. I'm so impressed that you are that how much you've grown and also that you're doing, this much networking and obviously it's paying off. So I can't wait for you to speak into us at the It's Time conference. We are already hanging out inside the It's Time Conference Sisters Connection, where we're shifting how we approach time and we're starting to already network and collaborate. So, you guys, as soon as you get your ticket, you get invited to this private community as well as a private podcast. So, the networking doesn't have to wait till Nashville. But until that time, if somebody wants to find you hanging out online, where is a good place to go? And what would be a good next step if they want to connect with you about what you do with the website design?
Yeah, so I would love for you to find me on Instagram. My handle is at Makena_Delaney. Just shoot me a DM and let's chat. We can get on Zoom and get to know each other. I love to just do networking calls. So if that's what you want to do, hit me up. It's all about making connections. It's not about sales. I mean, sales should come eventually, but not for every relationship, right? It's all, like you said, building connections, collaborations. It's all about just doing coffee chats with people or virtual coffee chats. So come find me. I would love that.
Yeah, yeah. And thank you so much because you've been so gracious in helping me connect with people in the Nashville area. And McKenna is always asking, who do you need to meet next, Lisa? What do you need? So thanks to McKenna, we are going to have some great people that are connected with our event in Nashville. And we hope that you are one of them. I mean, McKenna and I and the other speakers are praying over the 100 women that are going to be in that room. And so if God is stirring something in your spirit right now, go check out the details. We'll drop the link below. It's redeemhertime.com/conference. Go check it out. Go pray over it. Guaranteed when you hear and get, well, first of all, when you get to meet McKenna in person, I can't wait for that. But when you like get in the room with other people, like McKenna has shared, like it does something that doesn't happen just when you're hiding behind your screen or you've got this really even a great website. There's so much deeper connection that happens when we're actually right up close and personal. And so I can't wait for you, McKenna, to speak into that and for us to actually experience that when we're together, which is going to be really, really fun. So thanks for hanging out with me today virtually. And I'm counting the days till we're together in Nashville. But before we go, in case someone listening today doesn't have their ticket yet, why should she be part of the It's Time conference experience?
Oh my gosh, why shouldn't you be part of
Ah,
it? No, there's so many amazing reasons, but the number one reason for me is just finding community, whatever that looks like. Yes, it can be found in local networking events, but there is something special about women who come together in a room for a purpose rather than just showing up to network, right? I know that many of my dearest friends came through another community kind of similar to yours, and without them, I don't think I would have survived this long. And that is the key to business, friends. If for anyone listening, you've got to go find your people and you're not going to find them just through your screen. You've got to find them in person. So
I love this.
definitely show up, hang out, have fun, participate, go to dinner with somebody you don't know, and you never know where that might lead you.
Girl, that's, I mean, we connected because of a conference. And so you never know, right? Who's going to be in the room that you're supposed to meet and where that's going to lead. And so I'm really excited that God has brought us together and for all the women that he's going to bring together and the connecting and collaborating that's going to happen in that room because we are building in intentional time for you to do that when you're at the conference. So go to redeemhertime.com/conference. And in the meantime, come hang out with us inside the Redeem Her Time community. McKenna is going to be there as well. And we can't wait to get to know you and yeah, cheer you on as you're building business. Because, like McKenna said, we can't and shouldn't do this alone. We need to have some business besties. And this is a great place to do that. So thanks so much, McKenna, for being here. I can't wait for
Thank you.
Nashville. All right, we'll see you soon.
Bye.